Throughout history, governments in times of war and instability would utilize entertainment either to keep their people busy or to mobilize them and win public support. Egypt under Nasser wasn't strange to these circumstances, gaining independence from the British, coupping against their first president Mohamed Naguib, ending a potential civil reign for Egypt and replacing it with loyal military officers, and facing a triple British-French-Israeli aggression in 1956 with continuing hostility from Israel. Last thing Nasser would wish for would be citizens full of mistrust for the government and the military. And as a form of legitimizing the role of the military in Egyptian politics and their resistance against foreign enemies, entertainment could come in handy, bringing us to Ismail Yassin's movies.
عسكري رجب قدامك ما تلفتش حواليك بعدين معاك يا عسكري رجب للشمال مل للشمال مل اعدل نفسك الشمال مل على الحاز اللي جنبك اللي على يمينك بس تقف ثابت جنبا واحد اثنين ثلاثة خد يا عسكري عبد البر من دوية.
Ismail Yassin, born on September 12, 1912 in Suez, Egypt, grew up to be the most iconic comedian the Egyptian cinema ever screened. At a young age, he was forced to make an income for himself as an advertiser for shops, shouting and singing for a living. Despite his great interest in singing and other singers such as Mohamed his rather comedic gestures and physique pulled him into joining the theater in Cairo. 1939, he entered the cinema, starring in historical and drama movies, but by the early 1950s, his comedic movies turned him into the superstar of his time, especially with his sarcasm and anti-aesthetic comedy mimics. As mentioned before, the 50s included Egypt's hottest political turmoil and military threats, and it is no coincidence that these times were the ones when Ismail Yassin appeared with his military movies. Especially at a time when Egypt was transitioning from a monarchy ruled by kings to a republic ruled by the army in times of military threats. Let's look at each of his 4 military movies. Ismail Yassin and the Army was his first movie, produced in 1955. And it's about Zaki, a poor man called to military service having difficulties in following orders. When he starts falling in love with a local woman, his grumpy supervisor, Ashawish Ataya, tries to steal this love from him. Ismail Yassin in the Navy, released in 1957. The story is about Ragab, a young poor man falling in love with his cousin, yet her mom wants to make her marry a rich old man. Ragab decides to join the Navy. Ismail Yassin in the Military Police, released in 1958, is another movie where Ismail falls in love with a dancer in a nightclub, and as he wishes for her to stop dancing, the nightclub owners plot to get Ismail into the military police to get rid of him.
عسكري البوليس الحربي شجاع وجريء وفوق كده حرك ولبق وانا في الحقيقه معدومه فيا الاربع حاجات دول يحول للبوليس الحربي.
And lastly, Ismail Yassin in the Air Force, released in 1959. This time the story is about twins, Hussein and Ismail. Ismail works in the cinema, falls in love with a dancer, but she hopes into marrying a pilot. With envy, Ismail starts impersonating his brother Hussein as an Air Force officer. All the 4 movies share a common line in terms of plot and comedy. First of all stories have love as a starting point. The love for the woman is being put in the same shell as the love for the country by defending it, and in the end, the protagonist is united with his partner. Second of all, the protagonist remains consistent, an everyday clumsy young poor man who gets into a different army branch, each movie facing different difficulties and taking orders. Yet his sheer luck always saves him, giving him recognition and even promotion. Third of all, the antagonist also remains consistent, as Ashawish Ataya, a grumpy, strict supervisor who challenges Ismail Yassin and questions his abilities to serve in the army. Yet, in the end, he always loses. He resembles the stereotypical strict chain of command in the military in a more negative way. thereby glamorizing the army by critiquing its negative aspects. Fourth, every movie includes various scenes and moments showing a military parade or the greater size of the army and its modern equipment. And lastly, everyone else in the army is portrayed to be competent and handsome, maintaining the aesthetic and professionalism of the military. In conclusion, Ismail Yassin's military movies touch on two core topics. The first one is challenging Orientalism, as the movies and their slapstick comedy style are a clear product of Middle Eastern Renaissance and Westernization of media and arts in the region, inspired by European and early Hollywood cinema and war media. Not only are the jokes similar, but also the cartoonish background music and the plot theme of a lover having to serve his country lays parallel to Western cinema, depriving these movies of possible unique Egyptian elements. And secondly, these movies show how Arab regimes try to appeal the image of the military to the people in a purely comedic way, closing the gap between the civilian people and the military through laughter and simplicity, so that any class of people may comprehend it. It's not a unique phenomenon to Egypt or the region, as the West started it and continues to use it.
The word's an abbreviation for the navigational certificate. All right, you win.
Yet, surely, Ismail Yassin's acting style made such a form of entertainment and propaganda more unique to Egypt.